Saint Valentine doesn't occur in the earliest list of Roman martyrs, the chronography of 354, although the patron of the chronography's compilation was a wealthy Roman Christian named Valentinus. However, it is found in the Martyrologium Hieronymianum, which was compiled between 460 and 544 from earlier local sources. The feast of Saint Valentine of February 14 was first established in 496 by Pope Gelasius I, who included Valentine among all those whose names are justly reverenced among men, but whose acts are known only to God. The Catholic Encyclopedia and other hagiographical sources speak of 3 Saints Valentine that appear in connection with February 14. One was a Roman priest, another the Bishop of Interamna, modern Terna, Italy, both buried along the Via Flaminia outside Rome, at different distances from the city. The third was said to be a saint who suffered on the same day with a number of companions in the Roman province of Africa, of whom nothing else is known. Though the extant accounts of the martyrdoms of the first 2 listed saints are of a late date and contain legendary elements, a common nucleus of fact may underlie the 2 accounts and they may refer to a single person. According to the official biography of the Diocese of Terna, Bishop Valentine was born and lived in Interamna, and while on a temporary stay in Rome he was imprisoned, tortured, and martyred there on February 14, 269. His body was hastily buried at a nearby cemetery, and a few nights later his disciples retrieved his body and returned him home. The Roman Martyrology, the Catholic Church's official list of recognized saints, for February 14 gives only one Saint Valentine, a martyr who died on the Via Flaminia. The name, Valentine, derived from valens, worthy, strong, powerful, was popular in late antiquity. About 11 other saints having the name Valentine are commemorated in the Roman Catholic Church. Some Eastern churches of the Western Rite may provide still other different lists of Saint Valentines. The Roman Martyrology lists only 7 who died on days other than February 14, a priest from Viterbo, November 3, Valentine of Passau, papal missionary bishop to Raetia, among first patrons of Passau, and later hermit in Zinnoberg, near Mainz, South Tyrol, Italy, where he died in 475 January 7, a 5th-century priest and hermit July 4, a Spanish hermit who died in about 715, October 25, Valentine Berrio Ochoa, martyred in 1860. November 24, and Valentine Jonzares Gomez, martyred in 1936, September 18. It also lists a virgin, Saint Valentina, who was martyred in 308, July 25, in Caesarea, Palestine. The inconsistency in the identification of the saint is replicated in the various vitae that are ascribed to him. A common hagiography describes Saint Valentine as a priest of Rome or as the former bishop of Terna, an important town of Umbria, in central Italy. While under house arrest of Judge Asterius, and discussing his faith with him, Valentinus, the Latin version of his name, was discussing the validity of Jesus. The judge put Valentinus to the test and brought to him the judge's adopted blind daughter. If Valentinus succeeded in restoring the girl's sight, Asterius would do whatever he asked. Valentinus, praying to God, laid his hands on her eyes and the child's vision was restored. Immediately humbled, the judge asked Valentinus what he should do. Valentinus replied that all of the idols around the judge's house should be broken, and that the judge should fast for 3 days and then undergo the Christian sacrament of baptism. The judge obeyed and, as a result of his fasting and prayer, freed all the Christian inmates under his authority. The judge, his family, and his 44-member household of adult family members and servants were baptized. Valentinus was later arrested again for continuing to evangelize and was sent to the prefect of Rome, to the Emperor Claudius Gothicus, Claudius II, himself. Claudius took a liking to him until Valentinus tried to convince Claudius to embrace Christianity, whereupon Claudius refused and condemned Valentinus to death, commanding that Valentinus either renounce his faith or he would be beaten with clubs and beheaded. Valentinus refused and Claudius' command was executed outside the Flaminian Gate February 14, 269. Saint Valentine is said to have ministered to the faithful amidst the persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire. An embellishment to this account states that before his execution, Saint Valentine wrote a note to Asterius's daughter signed, "From your Valentine," which is said to have inspired today's romantic missives. The Legenda Aurea of Jacobus de Voragine, compiled about 1260 and one of the most read books of the High Middle Ages, gives sufficient details of the saints for each day of the liturgical year to inspire a homily on each occasion. The very brief Vita of Saint Valentine states that he was executed for refusing to deny Christ by the order of the Emperor Claudius in the year 269. Before his head was cut off, this Valentine restored sight and hearing to the daughter of his jailer. Jacobus makes a play with the etymology of Valentine, as containing valor. A popularly ascribed hagiographical identity appears in the Nuremberg Chronicle. Alongside a woodcut portrait of Valentine, the text states that he was a Roman priest martyred during the reign of Claudius Gothicus. He was arrested and imprisoned upon being caught marrying Christian couples and otherwise aiding Christians who were at the time being persecuted by Claudius in Rome. Helping Christians at this time was considered a crime. Claudius took a liking to this prisoner. However, when Valentinus tried to convert the emperor, he was condemned to death. He was beaten with clubs and stones. When that failed to kill him, he was beheaded outside the Flaminian Gate. Various dates are given for the martyrdom or martyrdoms: 269, 270, or 273. There are many other legends behind Saint Valentine. One is that in the 3rd century AD it is said that Valentine, who was a priest, defied the order of the Emperor Claudius and secretly performed Christian weddings for couples, allowing the husbands involved to escape conscription into the pagan army. This legend claims that soldiers were sparse at this time, so this was a big inconvenience to the emperor. The account mentions that in order to remind these men of their vows and God's love, Saint Valentine is said to have cut hearts from parchment, giving them to these persecuted Christians, a possible origin of the widespread use of hearts on Saint Valentine's Day. Another legend is that Valentine refused to sacrifice to pagan gods. Being imprisoned for this, Valentine gave his testimony in prison and through his prayers healed the jailer's daughter who was suffering from blindness. On the day of his execution, he left her a note that was signed, "Your Valentine." There are many churches dedicated to Saint Valentine in countries such as Italy. Saint Valentine was venerated no more than other Christian martyrs and saints. A 5th or 6th century work called Passio Marie et Marthae made up a legend about Saint Valentine's Basilica being dedicated to Saint Valentine in Rome. A later Passio repeated the legend and added the adornment that Pope Julius I had built the ancient Basilica S. Valentini extra portum on top of his sepulchre, in the Via Flaminia. This church was really named after a 4th century tribune called Valentino, who donated the land on which it is built. It hosted the martyrs' relics until the 13th century, when they were transferred to Santa Prassede, and the ancient basilica decayed. Saint Valentine of Rome was martyred on February 14 in AD 269. The feast of Saint Valentine, also known as Saint Valentine's Day, was established by Pope Gelasius I in AD 496 to be celebrated on February 14 in honor of the Christian martyr. February 14 is Saint Valentine's Day in the Lutheran calendar of saints. The Church of England had him in its pre-Reformation calendars, and restored his mention as bishop and martyr in its 1661–62 Book of Common Prayer, and most provinces of the Anglican Communion celebrate his feast. The Roman Catholic Church includes him in its official list of saints, the Roman Martyrology. He was also in the general Roman calendar for celebration as a simple feast until 1955, when Pope Pius XII reduced all such feasts to just a commemoration within another celebration. The 1969 revision of the general Roman calendar removed even this mention, leaving it for inclusion only in local calendars such as that of Bolzano, Malta. His commemoration was still in the 1962 Roman Missal and is thus observed also by those who, in the circumstances indicated in Pope Benedict XVI's 2007 Motu Proprio Summorum Pontificum, use that edition. July 6 is the date on which the Eastern Orthodox Church celebrates the Roman presbyter Valentine. On July 30 it observes the feast of the Hieromartyr Valentine, Bishop of Interamna. Members of the Greek Orthodox Church named Valentinos or Valentina may observe their name day on the Western ecclesiastical calendar date of February 14. English 18th-century antiquarians Alban Butler and Francis Douce, noting the obscurity of Saint Valentine's identity, suggested that Saint Valentine's Day was created as an attempt to supersede the pagan holiday of Lupercalia mid-February in Rome. This idea has lately been dismissed by academics and researchers, such as Professor Jack B. Orruch of the University of Kansas, Henry Ansgar Kelly of the University of California, Los Angeles and Associate Professor Michael Matthew Kaler of the Masaryk University. Many of the current legends that characterize Saint Valentine were invented in the 14th century in England, notably by Geoffrey Chaucer and his circle, when the feast day of February 14 first became associated with romantic love. Orruch charges that the traditions associated with Valentine's Day, documented in Geoffrey Chaucer's Parliament of Fowls and set in the fictional context of an old tradition, did not exist before Chaucer. He argues that the speculative explanation of sentimental customs, posing as historical fact, had their origins among 18th-century antiquaries, notably Alban Butler, the author of Butler's Lives of Saints, and have been perpetuated even by respectable modern scholars. In the French 14th-century manuscript Illumination from a Vise des Saints, Saint Valentine, Bishop of Ternay, oversees the construction of his basilica at Ternay. There is no suggestion here that the bishop was a patron of lovers. During the Middle Ages, it was believed that birds paired in mid-February. This was then associated with the romance of Valentine. Although these legends differ, Valentine's Day is widely recognized as a day for romance and devotion. The flower-crowned alleged skull of Saint Valentine is exhibited in the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmeton, Rome. Saint Valentine's remains are deposited in St. Anton's Church, Madrid, where they have lain since the late 1700s. They were a present from the Pope to King Carlos IV, who entrusted them to the Order of Poor Clerics Regular of the Mother of God of the Pious Schools. The relics have been displayed publicly since 1984, in a foundation open to the public at all times in order to help people in need. Whitefriars Street Carmelite Church, Dublin, also houses some relics of Saint Valentine. On 27 December 1835 the Very Reverend Father John Spratt, Master of Sacred Theology to the Carmelite Order in Dublin, was sent the partial remains of Saint Valentine by Cardinal Carlo Odescalchi, under the auspices of Pope Gregory XVI. The relics and the accompanying letter from Cardinal Odescalchi have remained in the church ever since. The remains, which include a small vessel tinged with his blood, were sent as a token of esteem following an eloquent sermon Fr. Spratt had delivered in Rome. On St. Valentine's Day in Ireland, many individuals who seek true love make a Christian pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Valentine in Whitefriars Street Carmelite Church in Dublin, which is said to house relics of St. Valentine of Rome. They pray at the shrine in hope of finding romance. There lies a book in which foreigners and locals have written their prayer requests for love. Alleged relics of Saint Valentine also lie at the reliquary of Roquemaure, Gard, France, in the St. Stephen's Cathedral, Vienna, in Balzan in Malta and also in Blessed John Duns Scotus's Church in the Gorbals area of Glasgow, Scotland. There is also a gold reliquary bearing the words Corpus Street Valentine, M. Body of Saint Valentine, Martyr, at Birmingham Oratory, UK, in one of the side altars in the main church.